Have you ever wondered what happens to your body in a coma? This question may have crossed your mind as you watched a movie or read a book featuring a character grappling with this mysterious condition. A coma, in simple terms, is a prolonged state of unconsciousness, where the patient cannot be awakened, fails to respond to painful stimuli, light or sound, and does not have sleep-wake cycles. It's a state of deep, often troubling slumber, where the world outside ceases to exist for the person in the coma. But what causes a coma? The reasons can vary widely. From traumatic brain injuries and strokes to diabetes and infections, several factors can plunge a person into this state of deep unconsciousness. While the person may appear to be merely sleeping, their body is actually in a battle, a struggle to preserve and maintain. This is where the brain plays its part. As the control center of our bodies, the brain regulates all our functions, from the beating of our hearts to the blinking of our eyes. But when a person is in a coma, some of these functions can be affected. Despite the unconscious state, the body continues to function. The basic life-supporting functions like breathing, circulation, and body temperature control are often preserved. However, they may require medical assistance, such as a ventilator to aid in breathing or medication to maintain blood pressure. The body in a coma is like a city under siege, continuing to function even under duress, with the brain acting as the control center trying to maintain order and balance. It's a fascinating yet perplexing state of existence where the body continues its fight for survival, all while the person is oblivious to the world around them. So in a coma, your body is in a state of deep unconsciousness, but essential functions continue. It's a stark reminder of the resilience and tenacity of the human body, even when our conscious selves are not at the helm. Ever thought about what would happen if you lived in the bathtub? A strange question indeed, but one that might tickle your curiosity. So let's dive into it. Living in a bathtub, constantly submerged in water, would have some fascinating effects on your body. Our skin, you see, is not designed for constant water exposure. It's built to be a barrier, protecting the insides of our bodies from the outside world. But if you spend too much time in water, your skin starts to weaken. You know those wrinkly fingers you get after a long soak in the tub? That's your skin swelling as it absorbs water. It's a harmless effect over short periods, but over time it can lead to a condition called maceration. This can cause your skin to become extremely soft, making it more susceptible to infections and injuries. It's not a pretty picture, is it? But that's not all. The constant water exposure can also make your skin lose its natural oils, leading to dryness and potential irritation. And let's not forget about the risk of thermal damage. Water conducts heat about 25 times faster than air, so if the water is too hot or too cold, it can cause burns or hypothermia. Now, you might be wondering, would our bodies adapt to these conditions? Well, humans are incredibly adaptable creatures. We've learned to live in some of the harshest environments on Earth. But when it comes to constant water exposure, the story is different. Our bodies just aren't built for it. We're not like whales or dolphins with thick blubber to protect us from the cold and a skin designed to withstand constant water exposure. So, long-term living in a bathtub? Not a great idea. Your body isn't designed for it. We are terrestrial creatures, and while a good soak can be relaxing, it's clear our bodies are much better suited to life on dry land. Have you pondered what happens to your body after you die? It's a thought that might have crossed your mind at some point. The afterlife of your body is fascinating, to say the least. Once life ceases, the body embarks on a new journey, one that's governed by biology and time. The first stop on this journey is a process called rigor mortis. This is when your body becomes rigid, a result of chemical changes in your muscles. Rigor mortis peaks at around 12 hours after death and then gradually subsides over the next 2 days. While rigor mortis is setting in, another process called algor mortis begins. Algor mortis is the gradual cooling of the body until it reaches the ambient temperature. This process can be influenced by a number of factors, such as the deceased's body fat, the clothes they're wearing, and the surrounding environment. Following rigor and algor mortis, the process of decomposition begins. This is nature's way of recycling, breaking down the body into its basic components. Decomposition is facilitated by enzymes within the body and by external factors like bacteria, insects, and scavengers. It's a gradual process that can take weeks or even months depending on conditions. Decomposition is often accelerated in warmer, moist environments. Conversely, in colder or drier conditions, the body might undergo a process called mummification, resulting in preservation rather than decomposition. Lastly, let's talk about the role of oxygen. After death, the body's cells are deprived of oxygen, leading to a buildup of carbon dioxide. This triggers a process called autolysis, where cells start to self-destruct, further aiding the decomposition process. Every step in the afterlife of a body is a testament to the remarkable, albeit slightly macabre, efficiency of nature. It's a delicate balance, a dance between life and death, where the end of one journey paves the way for the beginning of another. So, when we die, our bodies go through a natural process of breaking down. It's not the end, but rather a transformation, a return to the elements from whence we came. Space, the final frontier. But what happens to your body in space? Well, let's begin with the most immediate effect, the absence of gravity. In space, your body doesn't have to work as hard as it does on Earth. You're not fighting against gravity to move, stand, or even breathe. This might sound like a vacation for your body, but it's actually quite the opposite. You see, our bodies are designed for life on Earth, and our muscles and bones are used to working against gravity all the time. In space, without this constant resistance, they begin to weaken. Astronauts can lose up to 1.5% of their bone mass each month in space. That's similar to the rate of bone loss in people with osteoporosis. And then there's the risk of radiation. Space is filled with high-energy particles from the sun and beyond our solar system. On Earth, our atmosphere and magnetic field protect us from most of this radiation. But in space, astronauts are exposed to much higher levels. This can increase their risk of cancer and other health issues. The vacuum of space also poses a risk. In this void, there's no air to breathe, and the lack of pressure can have some strange and dangerous effects on the human body. For instance, without atmospheric pressure, the boiling point of body fluids decreases, which can cause them to boil at body temperature. And let's not forget the psychological effects of being in space. Astronauts are isolated from their families and friends for long periods, and the constant sight of Earth from afar can lead to a phenomenon known as the overview effect, a cognitive shift in perspective towards our planet and our place in the universe. So, while space is fascinating, our bodies need to be well protected to survive there. From physical exercises to combat bone and muscle loss, to spacecraft shielding us from radiation and the vacuum of space, we've developed numerous strategies to help humans live and work in this alien environment. But remember, space travel is not for the faint-hearted. The effects of space on the human body are a constant reminder of the incredible resilience and adaptability of our species. Have you ever considered what happens to our bodies when we lie? It's not something we often think about, but our bodies have a fascinating physiological response to dishonesty. Let's delve a bit deeper into this. When we lie, our bodies enter a state of heightened stress. This is because our brain recognizes that we're straying from the truth, and this deviation triggers a stress response. This response is our body's way of preparing us for potential danger. In this case, the danger of being caught in a lie. The first sign of this stress response is an increased heart rate. Our hearts start pumping faster to send more blood to our muscles and organs. This is the body's way of saying, hey, we might need to act quickly if someone catches us in this lie. So, if you've ever felt your heart pounding when you're not being completely honest, now you know why. Next, we start to sweat. Sweating is another physiological response to stress. It's our body's way of keeping us cool under pressure. So, if you've ever noticed your palms getting a little clammy when you're fibbing, it's because your body is preparing to handle the heat. Finally, lying can even change our voice. Stress can tighten the muscles around our vocal cords, leading to a higher-pitched voice. So, if you've ever wondered why some people's voices go up when they're not telling the truth, it's a direct result of that stress response. But it's not just the physical responses that are interesting. The psychological effects of lying can also be significant. Chronic lying can lead to feelings of guilt, anxiety, and depression. Plus, it can strain relationships and erode trust. So lying not only affects our relationships but also our bodies. It's always better to stick to the truth. After all, honesty isn't just a virtue for moral reasons, it's also better for our physical and mental health.